What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome in to another episode of the Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Show, a proud member of Fantasy Points and the Fantasy Points Media Group. D. Mendy here, joined by a cheesy man who slices the competition and collects that cheddar. That's Art Tornabene, a.k.a. Little Cheesecake, the LC. LC, how's it going?
I'm happy. First show of the new year. Happy to turn the calendar over. 2021 actually was a brutal year for my fantasy baseball. But 2022 is already starting out. I'm in the middle of a draft right now. Real happy with how it's going. We'll see how that ends up at the end of the season. But real happy to be here. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. It's Bubba's draft and hold, right? That's one of his draft and hold leagues. Nice. We'll have to figure out who's on your roster a little bit later. I'm interested to hear who you're picking so far. But of course, we're also joined by my favorite gambling degenerate. It's Eric Mendelson, aka the Doc. What's going on?
You know, one of my bookies is getting shut down, so I might not be your favorite gambling degenerate anymore.
What are you going to do with your life?
I don't know. Maybe pick up knitting or something.
Could do that. You could do that. Of course, the last member of the crew, the man that parties it up in hotel rooms and our couple goals. It's Marty Tallman. What's up?
Hey, man. As always, great to be here from my cell phone because Xfinity internet is the worst. You can print that. It's the worst.
Oh, man. I guess we lost Xfinity as a potential sponsor of this show. That's okay. But I'll tell you what's also okay. You know, it's better than okay. It's our guest this week. We welcome in a man that slaps. And if he were to be a rating in MLB The Show, he'd be a 91. He's a writer, a podcaster over at Fangraphs, a Twitch partner where you can watch him play MLB The Show better than you play with others' emotions. He's a smooth operator when he talks about how he ranks his players. And ladies and gentlemen, he's the Wizard of Wordle, king of the Dub Club, and a dog dad. It's forking Paul Sporer. How's it going, man?
What an intro. That was perfect. Thank you so much. I loved every bit of that. It's great to be back, and Wordle's a fun game. If you guys aren't playing it, you got to get on it. WORDLE. Fun,
yeah, so
fun word puzzle.
I saw that. What exactly, how do you solve the Wordle
Super
puzzle?
easy. Well, the concept is super easy. There's a 5-letter word that you're trying to figure out, and you get 5 tries. I think you get 6 tries. You just type in the letters, and it tells you if the letter's green, you have it in the right spot, right letter. If it's yellow, the letter's in the word, but you don't have it in the right spot. And you, process of elimination, try to figure out the word. It's a lot of fun.
I think we have to try this on Triple Play one of these times. It actually sounds really
It's a
fun.
lot of fun.
I just downloaded on the app right now. Your sales skills are impeccable.
It's one a day though too, and so unless people have, like, I'm sure somebody has created something where you can kind of do the past ones, but the one from the guy is just one a day, and man, I crave it. I want to do like 50 of them. But it's kind of keeping it so that I don't burn out on it too. So I kind of like that he is just keeping it at one a day. He's like not monetizing it. He just created it for his girlfriend. She loved it, and now it's a phenomenon.
That's awesome. So if you get it wrong, you have to wait till the next day to try another one?
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
All right.
And I got the first one wrong that I ever did, and I could not wait. I was like, I need this next one. I'm so mad. And I'll just tell you that what I missed. You can use the same letter twice, which can make it kind of difficult sometimes because you're only thinking of like the eliminated letters. And we didn't even know that you could do the same letter twice. So we didn't get the word. Plus, I never heard of the word truss, TURSS.
Big trust.
Like
Big trust.
No. You guys are thinking of truz. That's with 2 Z's. That's the Lamar Jackson thing.
Oh, yeah.
Truss is like tie or bind something. I don't know. It was some garbage. It's a fake word. I hated it. And I hate the word in Madden. I hate that thing. Truz.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, you sold us for sure.
It's a bad feature in Madden too. It's like a power up that is worthless in my opinion.
Wait,
not to get on
like,
video games.
Not to plug another podcast, but isn't that Mark Ingram's podcast name, The Big Truss, or is it Big Truz?
Probably the Big Truz. Like that's a phrase. He would have been on those teams. It's based off Lamar Jackson, TURZZ. That's a different thing. This was an actual word, truss, with 2 S's. So I don't know.
Okay, Mark Ingram's, I just looked up, called Truss Levels, but with a Z at the end.
There you go.
He's right, yeah.
That's the popular way to say trust, which is fine. I just didn't understand it.
So before we dive into all the good fantasy baseball goodness, Paul, you do a lot. That's to put it lightly. You're doing a bunch of twitching. You're doing some Fangraphs. I actually was reading some of your Q&As on your Fangraphs thing back and forth. I was like, I'm too late to the party, but I can at least stalk the conversation. And so, I mean, you're doing a lot of different things. You do multiple different sports as far as for video games, which when I originally talked to you the first time, I thought it was just MLB The Show, and that's kind of what
It pretty much was. And this is a pretty recent change that I've just been playing whatever I want right now.
And do you like the variety now, or do you kind of miss
love
just
it.
being like the?
No, I love it. I could keep playing MLB if I wanted to, but I didn't want to just play that every day. I was kind of a little bit burnt out on it, and I wanted to play other games. So I've just started to. And a lot of times when you kind of have a game that you're known for on Twitch, it's hard to change because you will lose a part of your audience. But I'm playing to do what I want, not to just necessarily have the biggest audience. So the people that want to hang and watch me play whatever, those are the people I'm streaming for anyway. So I've been playing other games, and it's been great. The support has definitely been there.
Now, I know this is a baseball podcast. This will be the one football reference. Second, I guess, with the big trust thing. Have you ever in Madden created yourself and then put yourself at a position and then just try to stack up your stats? Because that, I think, is like one of the funnest things you can do in Madden.
No, but that's actually a great idea for stream, is to do that and make myself a lanky wide receiver and then just put him on a franchise team.
Yes.
And just make him become a god. I love that idea.
Oh,
what would your hands be if you made yourself in Madden?
I mean, I would overrate it. Obviously, if I'm in the NFL, I like peaked. Everything went a completely different way. I was able to keep on weight as a teen, and I had better vision. So at that point, I'd be putting my hands pretty high, because for the time I played, which was just some peewee bullshit in 2 years of high school, the one thing I could do was catch the ball. So I would probably have them pretty high, not like 99. You got to build up to something.
91, is that fair?
I'd probably start them. No, I would probably start it in the 80s somewhere and kind of work it up.
Okay. I like that.
Because Madden's progression system is pretty good, the way you kind of work through it and progress it. So I would start it there and kind of let the player work up. I think I'm gonna do this on stream. I don't know if I'm gonna put him on my Carolina Panthers franchise that we have, but I'm gonna put myself on a team and then just sim it.
Dude,
no Ken Holman throwing. No Ken Holman throwing,
baby.
To Paul Sporer.
I don't want to hear any Ken Holman slander. He is the future. He's the present and the future in
slander.
Carolina. No, I know you're not slandering, but there is a lot of hate out there for Ken Holman. He's a created quarterback in my league. I'm talking too much football. I'm sorry. He's a created quarterback, but he's the future. But he's divisive. I threw 30 interceptions with him last season, but we went 15-2 and made the Super Bowl. We lost to the Chiefs. Yeah, so the defense is amazing. And so he's in that third, like he's Jameis. People calling him Jameis in my stream because he has some good plays, but he throws a lot of interceptions. And that's me, because I'm terrible at the game.
Oh my God. I gotta start checking more of these out. That's
a lot of fun. The Madden stream, the Panthers franchise has been a ton of fun.
All right, well, you've picked up a few more usual watchers here, so that's gonna be good. And of course, I know it's a lot of football talk, but we got plenty of baseball, so don't you worry, people. Plenty of baseball coming. Today's episode, we have our ADP loves and hates. So now that we're officially in 2022, whether you love it or you hate it, it's officially fantasy baseball draft season. And speaking of love and hate, we have the guy I hate on this show, Doc. We have the guy I love on this show, Paul. Yeah. So it's going to be great discussion, having all that. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this love and hate, and we're going to look at that ADP love and hate formed from NFBC, looking at the NFBC ADP from December 1st to basically today. And it obviously not really much has changed because of the lockout, but we're going to be able to kind of allow this settling in time to be able to dissect the ADP as it stands today and be able to identify who we love and who we hate at their ADP. So it's going to be a fun exercise. Make sure you stay tuned for all that. After we go to our bullpen for our question of the week, who has had the best rookie season but not won the Rookie of the Year? And our game of the week coming in to shut the door. So if you guys are ready to do this dang thing, then let's get this thing started. But before we, of course, dive in, just a quick plug reminder here. If you enjoy the content of Triple Play Fantasy and want to hear more of the great stuff here on the Triple Play Fantasy Network, you can check out our baseball, basketball, and football podcasts. You can go to the YouTube channel where we talk about eating sandwiches with Eno Saris. We also have Marty and Christian release a Boston Red Sox prospect video today that you can check out over there. Also on tripleplayfantasy.com, you'll see a couple baseball articles over the last few weeks. Marty's got his outfield rankings on there. You got all your rankings right on there.
Yep. I'm almost done with starting pitcher. They'll be coming out next week.
All right, I love it. And like you always hear, great things in life. They come in threes. You got the Three Stooges, you got the three French hens, you got three-piece suits. Heck, maybe even your love life. Maybe there's three people there. Who knows? But you know what else comes in threes? Triple Play Fantasy, the mecca of football, basketball, and of course your baseball needs. So let's now dive into our ADP loves and hates. And we're going to pull up the ADP board. I'll have it on screen so you guys can see it. And while I pull that sharing screen up, we're going to let our guests kick this one off here. And Paul, I'd like you to give us a hitter that you love their ADP.
All right, I get to go straight up homer on this one. So we're off to a rousing start, as I recommend Akil Baddoo at pick 161, outfielder 43. I mean, I think people are really sleeping on this guy. It's not a Tigers bias type thing. Maybe there is an inherent bias, right? Because the team you watch the most, you have biases there. Nobody should ever be saying I'm unbiased. You can't be. You're taking in info. All your opinions have biases in them. What people are meaning to say is that they're not putting like an outsized bias on something, which I don't think I'm doing here. I think you can look at the skills here and realize this isn't just some homerism with Baddoo. If you kind of look at the trajectory of his season, he really came on. Rule 5 pickup, started hot and was kind of an exciting guy, but the skills weren't there. He had a 44% strikeout rate, 3% walk rate in April. So it was like, this is a stone cold fluke. Well, then he changed in season, 24% strikeout rate, 11% walk rate from May 1st on. That was a 756 OPS that he put up during that time. He does struggle with lefties, but with a 756 OPS, which is 10 points lower than he had for the year this year, I think he can put up a 2020 season playing all year. He'll get some sits against lefties, but there's a lot of upside here. And if he improves against lefties, I mean, he's 23 next year. If Akil Baddoo improves against lefties, it's all over. But I think this is a 2020 season just waiting to be picked after outfielder 40.
Yeah, and I'm curious, Marty, you're also a big Detroit Tigers fan. How do you feel about the potential of Akil Baddoo? Do you see as much upside as Paul's saying? And then I will add this too. People were talking about Riley Green potentially if he does come up, which, maybe he does come up this season. Would you think Victor Reyes, who potentially could be playing in the outfield, or, any of those type of guys would probably get replaced over Akil Baddoo? So you've got to think he also has that protection going for him as well, right?
Yeah, and in touching, I actually just echo exactly what Sporer said. I mean, Baddoo has that 2020 potential. On top of Robbie Grossman, he's one of my favorites too at his ADP. AJ Hinch has shown that he wants to run with this team. So the stolen bases are coming. And now, as far as anyone taking Akil Baddoo's job, I don't see it. Victor Reyes is on his way out as it is. He was, at best, he was their fourth outfielder. And as far as Riley Green, until I see it, I don't see them calling him up this year. I mean, maybe they'll do it halfway through the year, but I see this team fully committed to winning 2023.
Yeah, you guys, I mean, it's a good time to be a Tigers fan. Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, you guys have so many great prospects coming up. And yeah, it sucks as a Twins fan to have to be around to hear all this.
This has been a brutal baseball, and with the front office just not committing to spending any money until now. I think Sporer and I think he would agree that we deserve this.
I was just about to say, I think Detroit fans absolutely deserve it. No city with 4 teams has had a worse run than the one they're currently in. It's an absolute nightmare. So the fruits of all this awfulness is starting to bear, and it's been awesome. Everyone knows the story about how they were 500 from May 1st on as a team. A lot of the young players starting to graduate. I do think Green will be up this year, but I just don't think Baddoo's the one at risk. Again, unless he falls off. If he falls back into the old strikeout habits and not walking, sure. But as the guy that we saw for 5 of the 6 months last year, no shot that he's in trouble. Reyes, kind of 1 foot out the door too. He was not getting as much playing time as you would have expected this year. The thing that could keep Green down, unless he just tears the cover off the ball, is I kind of have a little sleeper love for Derek Hill too. He and Baddoo might just be a perfect platoon because Hill is a right-hander who beats up on lefties. But man, there's a world where Hill develops a bit. Those two and Grossman kind of lock down the outfield, and then Green, unless he just goes crazy in the minors, he might not have a spot to play. So if he's just kind of high 700s, low 800s at AAA, they might just let him develop for a full year.
I like how you said that we deserve this. when you guys haven't even won anything yet. It's a pre-victory lap. I mean, it's
No,
good.
no,
It's optimism.
We just deserve the excitement is all we
Okay.
deserve. Like that, we just
Okay.
deserve that. Like we
Okay.
deserve every bit of the fact that it's like starting to happen. We probably deserved better than Baez. I'm going to say it. At least they got one of the premium shortstops. I really had my heart set on Correa, but all I mean is we just deserve something good to cheer about, because nothing good has happened in Detroit sports. And I don't know how long. The last time the Wings were good, I guess, and I know they're on the come up too. Cade in Detroit with the Pistons, the Lions. There are a few things going, but it's been another bad year. So yeah, even just the prospect of a good season, Lions fans or Tigers fans deserve. Detroit fans, I should say.
I just will never.
Beautiful.
I'll never get over the Maglio Ordonez, Victor Reyes's, Miguel Cabrera in his or Victor Martinez, Miguel Cabrera in his prime. When you like Jeremy Bonderman, like that whole team, I despised playing you guys so much. Like I was like, oh my god, I hate the Tigers so much.
Same. Those two teams, the Twins and Tigers. I mean, obviously, most heartbreaking game ever for me is that game 163. Probably one of the best ever for you. Just absolutely heartbreaking. But I've always I always see the Twins as kind of the biggest threat. No matter where things are, the Twins are the one team that kind of fires me up. There aren't many in the division. Like Cleveland, they've picked on the Tigers before when they've been bad and Cleveland's been good. I never really cared that much. KC, even when they were, back-to-back World Series, I kind of rooted for them. I liked that they were succeeding. And then the other team I'm forgetting in the White Sox. White Sox too, because I didn't really like Hawk. I was not a big Hawk guy.
Yeah.
So he kind of fueled my anger toward them. But they had a lot of, like, Frank Thomas was legitimately my favorite non-Tiger growing up. So I always had at least a little tinge of not non-hate for them. It was always the Twins. The baggy, the freaking Homer Dome. I got no love for the Twins. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, they were like the little piranhas. That's what their nicknames. So
yeah, absolutely. And like the fact that like Nick Punto was instrumental in that game too, and he's just like the worst. Oh man, it's rough. I love some of y'all's players. I love Byron Buxton. I root for him big time. A handful of others, Kirilloff. But as a team, that's the one in the division as a Tigers fan that I'm like, fuck them, dude. Like I don't mess with them.
You know what? Like maybe one time we'll have to do down the road. We'll have to do like an AL Central like throwback episode. We'll just talk about.
I love it.
Talk about like the 10, 15 years ago teams. Like those were when the rivalries were really, really good.
Absolutely. Like they're these two teams, like they got some bad blood for sure.
Oh yeah. Marty, let's stay with the Tigers theme. Well, obviously you're a Tigers fan too. Give us a hitter that you're looking at that you think is a love at his ADP.
That has to be on the Tigers or just one of mine, just in general?
I was just saying because you're a Tigers fan. That's how I was going to connect it.
Okay, yeah. So I'm starting with Cabrian Hayes. So his ADP is 140. He's the 11th third baseman off the board. So last year in TGFBI, I drafted Cabrian Hayes in the 12th round at pick 132. So he's pretty much the exact same ADP, and I love it just as much. So Hayes has the rare ability to hit 20-plus home runs with 15-plus steals. And outside of Mondesi, he should lead all third basemen in steals. Yes, more than Jose Ramirez. I'm calling it right now.
Wow.
So, yeah, without it, if he stays healthy, there's no reason not to. He's going to be batting second or third in that lineup. There's not much behind him outside of Reynolds, so he's going to have to do as much as he can. I know last year he only hit 6 home runs. He only batted .257, but he was hurt. You know,
he's not that player.
Right. And he hurt his wrist. Anyone I'm coming off a wrist injury myself, dude, you don't get that strength back for a long time. Like you need months to heal. So he's going to have a full off season to be able to get this going. And even though he didn't do that good last year, he still had 9 stolen bases. So I could easily see him, hitting 20 home runs, getting 25 stolen bases, and really just blowing out his ADP. So I absolutely love where he's at right now.
All right, so DJ LeMahieu is the next third baseman that's above him. Would you take Cabrian or DJ LeMahieu?
Oh, I don't want DJ LeMahieu at all. There's nothing about that profile that looks that great. Maybe he'll hit 280. That's what we're hoping for. No stolen bases, barely double-digit home runs. I'm good.
I actually think LeMahieu can get back. It doesn't change my answer, though. I still think Hayes as well. And the speed component could be eye-opening for a lot of folks. I don't know if he's seen as enough of a potential base stealer as Brian Hayes actually is. He'll be 25. Like, he can put up a 25 steal season, like, pretty easily, to be honest. Like, he has that kind of talent. We have not seen anywhere near the best of him. The market has not completely quit him, partly because third base isn't very good, but at pick 140, yeah, I would take that all day. I like him quite a bit. I could range as high as the early 100s for Brian Hayes, just to ensure that I got him, and I still feel like I'm getting something there. I'm not overpaying.
Yeah, and you guys talked about the stolen base upside. He did have 27 steals when he was in single A ball in 2017.
He's
So-
fast. Like, he's legitimately fast.
Like,
Brian
even
Hayes is.
Hey, he's a top tier athlete, you know. So to see him go down so quickly with an injury was pretty brutal. But next year he should be good to go.
I like it. Doc, who's a player that you love, hitter wise?
So for me, I love Jake Cronenworth at pick 115. And I'm kind of basing this off of what I've seen in fantasy football and fantasy basketball with just the amount of COVID cases coming up. Is you need someone that has positional flexibility. And at first, second, and short, you can plug him in almost anywhere in the infield. We were worried about his playing time last year. Is he going to be in a platoon? They have Hendricks and Profar. They have Will Myers. Well, he played 152 out of the 162 games, and most of the time came with the broken finger at the end of the season. And he's going to give you a little bit of everything. He had 21 homers, 71 RBIs, a 266 average. Now, I know there is some worry about him only having 4 stolen bases. I look at the year before when he had 3 in 54 games, and he had 7 triples last year. So the speed is there. Like, you're not a slow guy and have 7 triples. So I think hopefully with Bob Melvin, he's a little bit more aggressive on the base pass. I don't like that he was 4 of 7. So I think he needs a little bit of better discipline on the base paths. But he's 27. I think there's upside there, and I think he's locked in for an everyday role.
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson I learned from last year, everybody has like, what's your biggest lesson learned? You draft players with over talent over opportunity, because eventually injuries can play a factor. Player exceeds expectations where they'll make sure that their bat gets in the lineup. You can get these guys at dips and because of the lack of opportunity. And yeah, I mean, from what I remember, Cronenworth didn't really suffer much playing time concerns because he produced when he was in there, and the injuries took over to where, like you said, it didn't really matter. Thinking of the Dodgers last year too, and they had 8 starting pitchers and for 5 spots, and a lot of the guys that weren't guaranteed locks were slipping for that reason. But then injuries pop up, and these guys are giving you a lot more innings than you were expecting. So it's one of those things that, yeah, you buying the talent here, and the opportunity will take care of itself. So
Draft skills, not roles. It's an adage in fantasy that makes a lot of sense, particularly when there's like a sharp difference too, right? Obviously, if a guy has a role and his backup that you might like is basically the same player, that's not necessarily the same thing. But when somebody is more talented, I think you just go for that. Cronenworth, yeah, there were some concerns, and it was based on people thinking Ha-Seong Kim was going to come in and be a stud. I actually liked Kim, but it didn't take me off of Cronenworth at all. I actually like Kim on a bounce back this year too after the disastrous debut. But I love Croney, man. That's my guy. I'll randomly plug RotoWare's shirt for him too because it's so sick.
What's the shirt for? What does it say?
It's I could get it actually.
Oh, you have it with you?
Yeah, it's like right over there. I'll go get it. You guys talk about something and I'll get it.
All right, Cheesecake, why don't you give us your hitter while he's going to get the shirt?
Yeah, excuse me. I didn't go with someone who's being drafted late. I actually went with a guy who's being drafted quite high. Tyler O'Neill, currently the 46th player off the board at a 49 ADP, sorry. 26 years old, put together his first full season last season, and had a phenomenal season, 286, 34 home runs, 15 stolen bases. Now, there are some concerns with O'Neill. His strikeout rate is high. But this O'Neill is the type of a person who has consistently put up high BABIPs, 364, 386, 366 with a 189 sprinkled in there in a subpar 2020. But one thing that I really like about O'Neill is that O'Neill has a 98 percentile sprint speed, and the Cardinals are an organization that likes to run. They were 6th in stolen bases last year. O'Neill put together 34 home runs, 15 stolen bases, only 537 plate appearances last year. He had a couple of nagging injuries, little injuries, nothing concerning. One was COVID. One was actually like getting injured, sliding into a base, a vaccination issue. Given him 600 plate appearances, I think you could be looking at easy 20 stolen bases. His speed is there. The Cardinals like to run. They have a new manager this year, but it's a manager they've been grooming for a while. He's well versed in what the organization does. So I think that their Steele's profile as an organization is not going to change very much. So I really like O'Neill's power speed profile. I don't think he's going to hit 286, but I think if he hits 250, 260 with 30-20, I think that's a really valuable season going in the 3rd to 4th round.
Well, I actually have him as my player I hate. And before
me too.
Do you really?
Did we switch to guys we hate?
You know what? Let's both count. I want to see the shirt first, and then we can both.
Oh yeah. So here's the shirt. It's in the form of you young folks. There was a guy named Dr. Dre, and he came out with a really pivotal album called Chronic, and it was amazing. And that's what this is based off of.
That shirt slaps.
It really does slap. Had you guys never heard anybody say that, and that's why you keep associating it with me?
Yeah, you were the first.
I've heard it before, but you're the most famous person I've heard use it.
Okay.
No, you guys.
I picked it up from some random kids on Twitch. Let's be honest.
Slappenny Fantano says it all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
The shirt's really dope, though.
It's an amazing shirt, and yeah, if you like Cronenworth and West Coast rap, I mean, it's kind of literally the perfect shirt. But yeah, I came back, and I didn't want to interrupt you while you were saying it, but I wanted to say, are we talking about players we hate? Because O'Neill is my negative too.
Yeah, you know what? I'm sure we might have similar points. I'll let you go ahead. Why do you hate him? And then I'll add on anything that.
I mean, I'm getting real Domingo Santana, Steven Souza vibes.
Oh, Paul, that's from the top rope.
Go look at the breakout seasons that they had. There's a lot of similarities there. Similarities, I should say. There are some positive aspects, and Cheesecake highlighted them with the power and speed. The raw skills are there. It's weird. This always comes down to price, right? And listen, it's fun because if he beasts, Cheesecake gets to dunk on us and be like, see, he's good. And that's fine. That's kind of part of the show of what we do in fantasy. It's not that I don't like the player. It's not that I don't even think he could go 30-30. Like of course he can. He has the skill, but we're betting, right? And we're trying to bet with the prices that are in front of us. And at that price, I can't pay full price for a profile like this. For me, it's always going to be, let me find the next Tyler O'Neill. I wrote him up in the forecaster last year and actually pumped him up a bit. Humble brag there. Actually, just a brag bag. There's nothing humble about that. I literally just said I was on that. I had no idea it'd be that good. And honestly, truth be told, Brent Hershey, the editor, my editor over there, had to tell me to look deeper. He wasn't really satisfied with the fact that I was clowning all over him. He's like, you need to look at these raw skills. So I got to give him the credit on that right up there anyway. But I just don't like to pay high full price for these sorts of profiles because they are so volatile. If he puts up like a 25-10 season hitting 228, would it really surprise anybody? I don't think so. And I don't even know if it would surprise you necessarily, Cheesecake. So it's a matter of being comfortable with that price point. You are, and that's okay because a lot of people are going to be. He is a hot commodity in the market. But I think David and I are just going to be a little bit more risk averse on it. And I would imagine, I don't want to speak for him, but a lot of it due to the fact of the volatility of that strikeout and walk rate. It breeds so much volatility with guys. Part of the reason why I'm not super keen on Javi Baez as a Tiger because of how that profile usually ages. In O'Neill's case, at least he's 27. But like I said, I did get a lot of Souza and Santana vibes, and they both broke out in 2017. Go check out those seasons compared to O'Neill and tell me you don't see some similarities, right down to the injury history that those two guys shared. And then O'Neill has as well. Yeah,
the injury thing is, I think, a big deal. Also, just a couple of things. You brought up that strikeout rate, 31.3% was bottom 4% of the league last year. And he had an over 40% whiff percentage on both breaking balls and off-speed pitches. So, I mean, there's just a lot of scary stuff inside that profile where you're like, hey, he's just going to be a big boomer bust player at the plate, it seems like. Inside the top 50 picks. And, another thing, too, he had a 26.2 home run to fly ball rate last year, which to me is way higher than his last two seasons before that and doesn't seem very sustainable either. So I think there's no denying he's a beast. He had an elite barrel percentage, hard hit percentages, exit velocities. I mean, you look at his page, it would make a bull angry. There's so much red. Let's be honest. But at the end of the day, it's like Paul said, it's like at what price you have to pay for it. Like if he was down, 20 or 30 more picks, that I would probably be a little bit more interested. But inside the top 50, I don't think I can do it.
That's where I mean, if I may counter, I think that one thing that you'll look is the BABIP's is going to be helped by his sprint speed. He's going to be able to leg out a lot more hits than the guys who have that other high strikeout profile, and he hits the ball very hard. So that home run to fly ball ratio, it might be just a skill that he has. And again, I'm thinking if he's 28, 29, I'm thinking the skills are going to start slipping. He's not going to be on my list. This might be the only year that I'm a big fan of his, and I'm only a fan of his because you're not going to get that type of a profile very often after he's gone. So that's my
especially with the speed upside, and I get that. And again, I think it's just everyone's individual volatility index, and I'm not afraid to take volatile players too, right? Because people could say, well, you take Buxton and Mondesi and things like, what are you off on O'Neill for? And it's like, well, again, those comps kind of jump out to me. They're not perfect, but there are similarities. And I think the Souza one even more so, not just because they're both white, but the injury, the athleticism that Souza had, like I just think that they look pretty similar there. And we saw what happened. Of course, Souza, a lot of it was injury. So if O'Neill stays healthy, all bets are kind of off. That's just a big part of what I can't guarantee myself and why I don't want to pay the big price.
Yeah, and like Christian mentions in the chat here too. I mean, maybe you could move Edmund to the outfield too if O'Neill struggles. I mean, Gorman, they do say his ETA could be this year. He's in AAA right now, so we could see what happens with that. But I love these discussions, and I know we took a little long on that, so I'll be quick with my guy that I love, and that's Bobby Witt. I don't think Paul, especially I know I've talked with these guys before. I don't think he's high enough. I think he's still a bargain where he's going. And I know like the prospect history of like guys, you see, the Vlads, you see, the last year, Jared Kelnick, like these guys get hyped up.
But those guys don't impact him. And that's, like some people get worried by things like that. Each player needs to be assessed individually, right? Like, so I totally understand that. But you're willing to pay this big price sight unseen?
Yes, because I do think, this part's the optimistic part. I do think the CBA gets something figured out where he's not going to be held down with service time. He's going to start the year in the big leagues. And worst case, he's in there in the first month. And I remember I heard this on MLB Network sometime early last year. And they said, I don't remember which analyst it was on MLB Network, but they said he's going to be the Patrick Mahomes of baseball in terms of the impact he's going to have on the league, like the superstardom he's going to have, and he's going to elevate the Kansas City Royals to become one of the most watched teams, and that's going to start their rise up to the top. Like he's going to have that type of impact. He's he dominated AA and AAA, 290, 361, 575 slash, 33 homers, 29 steals, Baseball America's minor league player of the year. He's a potential 30-30 guy. Maybe not in his rookie year. I think he could still, I think Steamer has him at 24 and 18, if I'm not mistaken. But, he could within a year or two get to 30-30. And, what you look at everything in his profile, too, even just like his strikeout rate, too. Like his K rate last year went from 24% 2 years ago to 22.5 last season. Like he's seeing the ball better. I remember actually I heard someone bring up, I forgot where I heard it, but they said he actually faced Julio Reyes before, and that they said that he worked it to a full count when they matched up against each other. I didn't hear what the result of the at bat was, but they said took it to a full count. It was like a 8 or 9 pitch at bat. Looked like he belonged to face that type of competition. I do think that if you find out Bobby Witt Jr. expected to break camp, be the Royals starting shortstop, that ADP is going to shoot up.
I think for sure.
Yes, and I think that right now getting him near pick 100. A guy with that much potential steals in his profile, especially if you don't get steals earlier in the draft. I think there's 20 stolen bases there, like as a floor for him this year with how much the Royals like to run, especially too. So I think it's
where's
fantastic.
Where's he going to
play? Didn't they say Alberto Mondesi's a part-time player?
Well, they're like trying to protect his health. Yeah. But Nicky Lopez kind of broke out last year. Are you moving Witt off his position immediately?
He can play the outfield.
Bobby Witt, I should say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They have another Witt. Yeah, and that's why I wanted to clarify there. So they could put Merrifield in the outfield, and then you have like third base open or second base open depending on where you put Mondesi. But I guess you are moving Bobby Witt off of his position immediately. For me, like in a draft and hold, completely different consideration. I'm not averse to taking him in like a main event situation though, where I have to hold him until he comes up. That's the part that would make me a bit nervous, sight unseen. We have some lack of clarity with the CBA and what it might do for players. I totally understand that point. And there is a lot of upside, but I'm a little nervous. I don't hate his ADP. He's not on my hate list, but he is somebody that I've been a little bit nervous from being a top 100 pick already, just because of the uncertainty of when he's going to be up.
Now, David, my new drinking game for you is every time you say, I forgot who said this on MLB Network, but Bobby Witt's going to be the next Patrick Mahomes.
I've said it like 2 or 3 times. Like,
and it's been 2 or 3 weeks in a row. So I'm going to tally it up at the end of the season, and that's how many shots I'm going to take.
Fair enough.
Live on air.
The one thing I will say, so Paul, if tomorrow the Royals announce Bobby Witt starting with the Royals from day one, he's going to break camp as our starting third baseman or whatever they say. Where do you think his ADP goes to?
Top 50.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's what I was thinking.
He starts getting drafted around Tim Anderson, Trevor Story, which is top 40.
That's why I think
where he'd start to go.
I really do think
that's fair, but I guess for me, I would say, like, what's the likelihood that is going to happen? You think it's higher. I'm not sure if it is, and that's kind of the calculus that we're doing. But again, in a draft and hold, like, I think people get really hung up in like a 50-round league of I take my starting roster in order and then all reserves. It's like, no, I'm going to take Bobby Witt. Like it's hard. It's a hard mindset to get into, but when you're doing a 50-round draft and hold, it's for the full season. So yes, you have to pay pick 100 for him or 95 for him right now. But when he comes up, he should be like a top, 100 guy from that point forward. And you're just kind of taking that gamble right there. I think people have a trouble conceptualizing the entire season when they're doing a 50-round draft and hold. Instead of just drafting the best players, they want to draft their team in roster order, starters, and then reserves.
No, that makes sense. And I think the best part about
I think is a mistake, by the way, is what I'm saying.
You said you do think
I think that's a mistake to do that. To get so bogged down in having to draft your starting roster first. You should be open to taking guys like Bobby Witt Jr. in draft and holds a lot more. Like I could be you've kind of swayed me a bit on taking him in a 50-round draft and hold right now because of the upside. But in like a online championship right now or a main event, I know they're not drafting right now, but if they did with the news we have today, I could never pay 100 for that. Could you do that in a league where you only have your 7 reserves and like an NFBC main event? Would you still pay pick 100 for him with the news that we have right now?
I think it would kind of depend on how my roster is starting to shape up as I go. If I see in the beginning that I'm lacking steals, that he could be a guy that I would take a shot on because there's not many guys that could steal 30 bases.
What if you already have a great shortstop and then you're putting him at mid, so you're putting less pressure on him to be your guy? Would that, if you got Trey Turner, if you got the first pick, would you be bumping Witt up or down? Because he's giving you steals, but you need a lot of steals. Sorry, I keep adding parts to it. You can answer.
No. Like if I get Trey Turner, then I'm 100% not going to reach for him. Like that's a fact. I think it's in those types of leagues, it's going to depend on how my roster is shaping up, and I would take him more aggressively if I'm like, you know what, like, dang, like I'm looking at my team, like I missed out on all the guys that have 5 category players. I'm not, going to wait and try to take like a Miles Straw. Like I want a guy that I'm not going to rely on players like that. Like, so
I don't like Straw either. I'm not a huge Rabbit fan. Justin and I were talking about him the other day on the pod, and he did point out, he hit for a pretty decent average and scored some runs or whatever. So he's not completely empty. But when we say empty speed, I think we're talking mostly about the lack of power from somebody like Straw. But there are fits for him in the fantasy realm. I'm just not a huge fan personally. But anyway, good talk on Witt. I think you swayed me a little bit.
Oh man, well, hopefully we don't draft together and you take him from me. That would.
Well, I definitely will have to be looking.
I hope we get put in the same. I'm gonna have to do a main event this year. I've been putting it off for a little bit, but we'll have another talk another time. Really quick, Marty, Doc, and Cheesecake. We kind of talked about the players. Both Paul and I were out on Tyler O'Neill. So, Marty, real quick, why don't you give us a hitter that you don't like at their ADP?
Yeah, so I'm going to have to go with Mr. Salvador Perez. And it's less to do with how amazing he was, but here's the thing. So he's going currently basically 32, 33 overall. So that's
Is
basically
this negative that we're on? I'm sorry.
The negative hitters, yeah.
Okay. I was making sure that we were on negative hitters now.
I didn't want to use the word hate, Paul.
Yeah. No. Because we don't, again, it gets framed that way when you say anything negative about something. Oh, you hate him. It's like, no, I don't like the price.
Yeah, at his ADP. So it's 32.60. So, and that's right at the beginning of the third round. And at this point, I just cannot justify drafting a catcher, which is the most brutal position. I know he's an Iron Man. I know he plays almost every day, and they're going to DH him and get him into the lineup as much as possible. He will have the most plate appearances of any catcher. I know this, unless he gets hurt. But at that point, you're betting on him to have a better season than Aaron Judge, Jordan Alvarez. You're passing up on Cedric Mullins, all those steals, Starling Marte, Witt Merrifield. I just can't invest in a catcher that early. If he was going in the 5th round where JT Realmuto is going now, I would feel a lot more comfortable with it. But in those first 3-4 rounds, I need to get elite pitching and solidify 5 category contributors.
That makes sense.
This is just like this is not like a pushback to what you're saying, more of like an add-on, I think, to clarify it a little bit, because I don't like Sal Perez at that price either. But you mentioned that like he has to have a better season than Alvarez and Judge because he's being drafted before them.
Yep.
He doesn't necessarily have to outdo them, because what he does at catcher is an advantage that
True.
you're getting over other people. So your point is still well taken, but I just want to be clear that like he doesn't have to reach their heights to still be super valuable because of the advantage he gives you at catcher.
No, you're absolutely right. But I think most of this, we're gambling and betting that he's going to have the same year that he had last year.
Exactly. No, and I'm not doing it. No shot. So I'm 1,000% with you on the point. Yep. I just wanted to give that little caveat about catcher performance.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very good point, Paul, because, I mean, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I know his advantage over, was JT number 2 last year?
I can't.
So like the difference between them was pretty gigantic. So if you have that type of advantage at the catcher position, it is.
And then think about all the guys that are getting mediocre or scrub catchers, the advantage you have over them, even if they got Judge and you got. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're looking at 2 catcher leagues, so there's a huge difference from him all the way to your 30th catcher. I mean, it's
exactly.
So I get it, but
it's still too pricey for me too. So I'm 1,000% with you there.
1 foul ball, concussion, he's out for months.
Will Smith was number 2, and on the Fangraphs auction calculator, Sal Perez earned $37. I'm rounding 36.8, and Will Smith and Realmuto tied for 19. Wow. So he was almost $20 better than. I mean, this is the like sickest season. So like, I get it. These people just can't get away from the fact that he was 48, 121. That's a career year. He's not like, there's just nothing that should reasonably make you think he's going to do that again. Like there's just nothing. And so it was a dream season. It was amazing. Played 161 games. I love it, but I don't get any of those numbers next year. So you couldn't pay me to pay for Sal Perez.
I agree. It's a constant thing. You see a guy like have a monster season, then you pay for last season's production.
Yep.
And it's something you definitely have to make sure that you don't do if you're not comfortable with the. I mean, some people might be as high. I'm sure people get Sal Perez here. Let's see the average. Let's see the min 40. Is it the fin? The max is 40. Let's see
7 and min was 13.
13. Who took him at 13?
What?
Whoa!
If you just want to burn money, I'll give you my PayPal. I'm sorry, there's just no justification for that.
Oh, holy crap, 13.
I would take, if I was going to do catcher in the first round for some reason, I'd take Realmuto first still. Even coming off of a May. I'm just saying, in the world where I take catcher first round, which there is no world where that should happen, I would still take Realmuto first because he runs.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think he's actually due for a bounce back season compared to what he had last year too.
Totally agree.
All right, Doc, give us yours real quick here.
So for me, it's Shohei Ohtani. It's 7.
You're talking about Shohei Ohtani, obviously, like for hitting, of course.
For hitting. And I do. So last year he played 155 games, 46 homers, 100 RBIs, 26 stolen bases. Now from 2018 to 2020, he played 244 games, 89 more. He had 47 home runs, so 1 more, 147 RBIs, so 47 more, and 29 stolen bases, so 3 more. Now I know his barrel percentage, his hard hit percentage, his launch angle went up. I'm looking at the 3-year sample size prior to last year and thinking that that's a little bit of an anomaly. He's a career 264 hitter and a career 28.1% K rate. Now, this is where I'm going to just tie in a little pitching to why I can't get behind the value in hitting. I don't trust how the Angels are going to manage him. So in terms of pitching, on September 16th of 2021, they said that he had soreness in his throwing arm and they were considering shutting him down. Now, at this point, they're basically eliminated from playoffs. He then pitches 15 innings. He goes 8 innings versus Oakland, 7 innings versus Seattle. Granted, he gives up 3 earned in those, so he showed his dominance as a pitcher, but he threw 220 total pitches. Someone that has Tommy John surgery where you're eliminated from the playoffs, why are you putting them out there to pitch? I don't trust management and how they're going to handle him. I worry about an overuse injury. I worry about last year being an outlier. And at 7, like Paul said, you're chasing last year's stats.
Yeah, he's an interesting player. Obviously, depending on your format, some leagues you can only play him as one or the other. In other leagues, you can play him as both. So if you play him as both, obviously that's why you'll take him so high. I do think to expect what we saw last year, where you saw a guy pitch to the ERA he pitched at, the K percentage he had, just how dominant he looked on the mound, and then dominance he was as a hitter. I don't think we'll ever see that again. And I don't know how.
Not, but
I think are you more optimistic?
Yeah, I think he's like the second or third best player in the league, if not the very best. So 46-26, probably not. But I mean, 35-20. I think, yeah, I think I'm going to bet on that. Even with the 257 average, I would take that. See, the reason I like Ohtani, and we'll say for these drafts, the draft that we're doing here, the draft data is from NFBC, which they allow you to pick each week whether he's a starter or a hitter. And then that's it. You can't change, because you can change hitters Monday through Thursday and then Friday, Saturday. Like there's 2 different periods, but he can't go from hitter to pitcher. So once you choose, that's what he is. But for me, worst case, I have an elite hitter. And then if for some reason I draft really well in hitting and I don't need his impact as much, I can then throw him in and get some quality innings. I just think the upside is substantial. It is a big price to pay. You're right. You are paying for last year because he was the number 6 player last year, and now you have to pay first round. But I think he is a unicorn. I think he's one of those players that has ascended to the first round. He teased and tantalized for a few years, and he belongs there. So a little bit of pushback there that I'm open to it. I'll take Ohtani.
So
I was going to say real quick, Steamer projects him for 39 and 24 next year.
Ooh.
That's a little rich. I mean, considering his career high in homers for a season is 22, the steals is 12.
Well, that's only because of the playing time, though, right? 114 and 106 games. Part of that's injury, and I'll grant
I was going to say the durability is part of what bothers me as well. Just because you're banking that he's going to be an everyday role. If they have him pitch and he has a sore arm, I think high 20s, 29 homers, 18 stolen bases. But I'd rather just have someone that I know is going to be proven at one position and lock it up and not even have to worry about, am I going to have him as a pitcher or a hitter that week? I think that just provides a little bit more stress when your first pick, as Clegg said last week, you can lose your draft with the first pick. You want to make sure that you're getting someone a little safe.
You can't. I would push back on that. I don't believe that you can. You could punt your first pick and still win your league. Like you could purposely misdraft it, like pick like the 900th pick player, and you could still win a league. I don't agree. It's a phrase we've all said. I've said it before. I no longer subscribe to that. The only thing I will say to one point that you said there, and I'm sorry, I'm making all these take forever.
No, this is great.
No, you're good. Yeah.
You said 2 things there. One I love, and one I would give a little bit of pushback on. One about you say you want something a little bit more certain. That certainty doesn't exist. I think we take the uncertainty of other players and allow it to push up the certainty on others. And I don't think that exists. And I think last year's first round really showed that, as everybody took a fall. All of the most stable, best guys. And so many of them were hitters too. Hitters we usually think are more bankable. And that was proven not to be the case. Anybody can get hurt. It's about the chances, the likelihood of being hurt. And he has a higher likelihood than average, right? We know that for Ohtani. So I'm not pushing back on his injury concern. I'm just pushing back on the idea that there's a lot of certainty anywhere. One thing you did say, though, that I really, really subscribe to, and I totally agree with, you said you don't want to deal with the hassle of deciding every week on him. Draft the players that best fit your management style. Don't fit a round peg, square hole type deal. Take a bunch of guys that you don't know how to manage the best way that you can get the maximized value out of them. Take the guys that you're comfortable with. Take the team builds that you're comfortable with. I don't like rabbits. I don't think I draft the teams that fit in a guy. And a rabbit is just a mouse straw, Billy Hamilton, all speed, no power. I don't like those player types, so I don't draft them. So you don't want to deal with this back and forth with the injury concern and will he get hurt pitching and it'll cost him the hitting? Then don't draft him. That's totally fine. I just think there's more certainty in him than most people are saying compared to the rest of the pool. Everyone's a risk. If you're playing, you're at substantial risk to get hurt.
Yeah, I agree. And it's going to be very interesting to see because right now, obviously, as we can see on the screen, he's got a min pick of 1. So someone felt comfortable taking with the first pick. And then
multiple people, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's a multi-time number 1.
And then he's gone outside the first round. So kind of an interesting range. I personally probably I might be a little bit more towards Doc in the sense that I don't know if I'm comfortable taking him with my first round pick. Definitely if I got him at 16, I would take him for sure.
That'd be huge.
But yeah, I think in the top, you see how these guys are ranked. I would rather take these, especially the top 5 guys ahead of him, potentially if you go like Bryce Harper, because, he seems like he's more stable offensively for production. Garrett Cole or Corbin Burns, if you want a pitcher. I think I'd probably start looking at maybe like the 9-10 range, maybe where I would start considering him. And, someone like Ronald Acuna could potentially, within another month or 2, he could shoot up in this range too. So, we'll have to see how
Is there any chance Acuna starts the season?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I'm seeing those videos and I know it's a different sport, but Cam Akers just came back after 6 months from an Achilles. The athletes today are just insane. I wouldn't be shocked if
they got crazy drugs in the NFL.
Not to pull a Paul, but here's my caveat. If the season doesn't start on time, maybe he starts it.
That's a good point though, too. I mean, I'm not too terribly concerned about this lockout bleeding into the season necessarily, but it's a factor. It's out there at least, but I think these stupid idiots will at least get it done. They're so dumb.
Cheesecake, give us a last hitter, and then we'll do pitchers. I don't want to keep Paul all night, but we'll do pitchers.
It's my own fault talking. I take forever.
No, I love talking and having. I just feel bad.
No, it's no problem.
One of my favorite players in all of baseball's multi-hit Whit Merrifield. Currently the 27th player off the board, 30 ADP. For me, I just think that at this point, that's a bit high for him. Last season, Witt led the majors in stolen bases. He went 40 for 44. That's a 91% success rate. His career is a 78% success rate on stolen bases. He still has the speed, but his last full season before 2021, he only stole 20 bases. I don't think he's a consistent. He's a consistent guy for steals, but I don't think you're going to be getting 40 next year. You might say 30, but I also have concerns about his power. His power is starting to slip a little bit. He's 33, he's past his prime. Look, he had 10 home runs last year. 1 was an inside the park home run. 7 of them were pulled basically right down the line. And he's a good enough hitter to turn on those pitches. I just think you can't necessarily say he's going to be pulling, 10, 12 home runs next year. He only hit 10 last year, and one of them, like I said, was an inside the park. You could be looking at a guy who has 8 home runs, 25, 30 steals, and that's not going to be worth your 30th pick. For me, I love Witt. I think that the Royals are going to run, but I don't necessarily think he's going to return that value that you hope to get in the 2nd and 3rd round.
That's fair. Yeah, again, the steals I think are the really appealing part of his profile. Obviously, the power, batting average is decent too, but it's very rich price to pay. Let's move to now the pitchers. Pitchers is always fun to talk about. And Paul, give us a pitcher that you love their ADP right now.
Who I love, I'll tell you who I love. I love Zac Gallen.
Oh yeah, I love that.
I love it. I'm gonna flex again. I'm a flex forecaster, this year's forecaster, because I wrote him up.
Yeah.
So I'll just go ahead and talk about that a little bit, because that kind of crystallizes my thoughts very well.
Here we go.
What's that?
A little story time.
Yeah, just a quick little read here. It's just a little blurb. because I wrote up Zac Gallen, and I came away very, very impressed. I was very happy with what I saw. I said April injury, and then I put forearm in parentheses, identifying what it was the first half harbinger as 2 more followed, elbow and hamstring, and bred volatility. His swinging strike rate dip didn't hurt the strikeout rate, and he rallied down the stretch with a 3.19 ERA, 1.13 WHIP in 48 innings to salvage his season. Still a bright future thanks to a deep arsenal, neutral platoon, and a ground ball lean that lays a steady foundation. If healthy, 200 strikeouts. This guy's a stud still. I understand why his price is lower because of what happened last year, and we're so captivated by the most recent year. It's just part of the game that we play. It can't not happen because the default rankings are based on last year, and that leads people to draft players differently or more in line with how they went last year, and that's just how it goes. But coming into last year, everyone loved Gallen except for the health piece, but people still wanted to love him because of how great he was in 19 and 20. He's still that guy. I don't really see that guy going away. I feel like it was a little bit of an injury hampered season. This is what downside looks like when we say, I'll take 80% of so-and-so, 85% of so-and-so. That's what this looks like. You'd still take 85% of Gallen over 100% of, J Happ or something. I don't know. I'm throwing strays at random guys. I know he was kind of decent down the stretch, but that's what this looks like. 4.30 ERA, 1.29 WHIP, but still 27% strikeout rate. He's 26. Pitching in Arizona is pretty nice. Yeah, you got to go to Colorado and you have to face the Dodgers and Giants, which isn't great, and Padres. It's not an easy division, but I'm not too worried about him. And he's matchup proof as far as I'm concerned. I love Zac Gallen.
Are you okay drafting a snitch?
Wait, what happened? What did he snitch on?
So last season, he strongly suggested that the Marlins, when he was with them, taught their pitchers the benefit of using illegal substances when Mike Hill was their GM. Bob Nightingale tweeted it in like June or something. So he's known as a snitch in the MLB.
I'm fine with that. I don't.
Okay.
Really care.
All right. I just want to, reputation comes into it at some point.
Yeah. I mean, I'm more inclined to not draft people that are like bad dudes off the field, which I don't even have a strong stance there. Like I can't say I'm 100%. Like I've had Aroldis Chapman on teams, so I'm not looking down my nose at people that take bad dudes. But I don't care about. I don't care about Mike Fiers doing it either.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think this range, it's very interesting. It goes to the theory of if you want to start with a lot of bats early on, look at the 4 pitchers in this range. Shane Baz, you got Chris Bassett, Zac Gallen, Ian Anderson. Like, if you miss out on some starters, like, there are some guys there. Like, Zac Gallen could, would you be shocked if he was a top 20 starter next year? Like,
not at all.
Like, and you're getting him at pick 140. Like, that's insane value. I love the Zac Gallen call. This is the definition of buying low at this point. Like, it's insane to me that he's that low. Obviously, like you said, with the injuries and kind of you're buying the dip right now. But no, I think
he's my 30th starter in ranks, and he's going as pitcher 54, which there are relievers included there. And so I guess who's the closest reliever to him? I think Kimbrel, which I think would probably be about 12 relievers estimating. I wish they would separate it SPRP, but I think so. Then you could say he's probably about SP 40, early 40s, and right. I got him 30. Like, I love Gallen. He's awesome.
Yeah, and Curlin says you're awesome too. So
thanks, Curlin. But don't talk anything about Doc. You keep his name out your mouth.
No. Curlin probably had to type like 2 paragraphs and then shorten it down to that.
There we go. Marty, why don't you give us I'm feeling the love right now. Marty, why don't you give us a hitter you love?
Pitcher.
Wow. Look at me back.
I got your back.
Thanks, Paul. That's why you're the better host of this show.
No. Just helping out.
Go ahead, Marty.
Yeah, so Kyle Hendricks, he's my guy. So he's 281 ADP right now. So the 281st pick off the board, the 105th pitcher. I mean, we're seeing names like Alex Cobb around him. So obviously last year was brutal for Hendricks. I mean, he pitched to a 4.77 ERA and had his lowest strikeout percentage, which was at 16%, his lowest strikeout percentage since his rookie year. But I have 2 reasons why he's going to be better. And number one is something I think we often forget about because we are staring at computers and stats so much is number one, motivation. It's not something you can measure, but some players are actually like fueled by being competitive and having something to play for. And the Cubs had absolutely nothing to play for. The front office gave away all of their good players, and being in on that roster, sitting there knowing that it's kind of, you would think it kind of weighed on you a little bit. And when I was looking into it, the pitching coach for the Cubs said the exact same thing. He said, motivation was a big thing for Hendricks, and overall, I guess Hendricks has this big contract, and I guess it's kind of weighed on him a little bit. And so that leads me to the second thing is he started believing less in his stuff, and he started looking more at different analytics. And the pitching coach said he started to lose a little bit of who he was. So I'm betting on next year that the 31-year-old Hendricks is not done. He still has elite command. He limits hard contact as much as anyone in the league. And I think he's going to come back nice and fresh. We're only 2 years removed from him being, one of the top 25 pitcher, So I'm excited to see him next year.
What's your beef with Alex Cobb, though?
I
got slander Alex Cobb in the process.
Alex Cobb and Lou Trivino, which I think Doc might have a problem with. But
I don't mind the Hendricks love, but I'm kind of in on Cobb too. I think health is always the biggest concern with him, but going to San Francisco is nice.
He stole money from the Orioles.
Paul, I'll say this time last year. Would you rather have Hendricks or Cobb? I mean, we're not even having that conversation. So I think we just need to,
but we saw a modicum of some health from Cobb, through 93 innings, 18 starts. Looked good when he did. I don't know. Some things were back. I'm kind of in on him as this year's Tony Disco. They fixed Descalfani last year. I think they can help Cobb. Hendricks is a good pick, though. I think it is a good buy low. He's one of those guys that, when he was at his peak, I had trouble buying in because he was so expensive relative to what he was doing. I was still just nervous that it was falling out. Then after like 2 years of it, by 16, he'd put up 2.5 years of just great work. I was like, I get it. Yeah, just put him where he's at. And then last year, he was seen as one of the most reliable guys and fell apart, which was kind of what I was afraid of. But I'm not going to take a victory lap 6 years after something happens. Like, that's the people that were that take a victory lap on Chris Sale getting hurt finally, 8 years into his career. Like, I told you. I was like, yeah, but he was the best pitcher in baseball for 7 years. Where were you then? So I'm not saying that I knew this was going to happen to Hendricks. I had been trusting him, and then he pulled the rug out from us last year with the home run rate soaring and the strikeout rate tumbling.
Yeah, and I will add this too. I actually did a little research on Alex Cobb. This is from Alex Pavlovich of the NBC Sports. So he said that obviously, you look at his stats, 2.92 FIP compared to his 3.76 ERA, but they said he went to Driveline in 2020, and that's why you saw that he had a couple ticks on his fastball, more life on his pitches. His curveball was a little bit harder. Two-seamer took off a little bit more, and actually he threw his new splitter 37.2% of the time, which is actually more than Kevin Gausman did last year.
He got the splitter back in check, and I think that's part of what attracted San Francisco to him too. It's all about health with him, and
right.
Honestly, at the point in the draft, you should kind of judge it based on where your staff is at. Do you need a volume play with Hendricks, or do you need somebody like Cobb who might only give you 130 innings, but he's kind of Rich Hill-esque? Like, when he pitches, a lot of times it's good. I know the Baltimore time wasn't great, especially 2019 when he had 3 starts and put up a 90 ERA. I understand that, but a lot of Cobb, when he has a modicum of health and can get you 20-something starts, it's pretty good.
Yeah, and they said he's also tinkering with a new curveball this offseason, a new grip on his curveball. So you never know, that can unlock some more things for him there. But I do like that. The Kyle Hendricks, I mean, he's going near pick 300. Just for the fact that he could eat a lot of innings for you, too, at this point in the draft.
He could be a good trade option. Go to a team, get wins.
Yeah.
Could be. Go ahead, Doc. Why don't we stay with you? Why don't you give us a pitcher that you love?
So I love Jose Urquidy at 194.
Okay. All right. Okay. Was that really your pick?
It was almost my pick. I said I just pick him all the time, and things like this that I decided to do something different for once. He's good.
You and Eno, I think, were really on him last year.
He's going to be a starter barring injury. We'll see Justin Verlander coming back from Tommy John. Lance McCullers is dealing with his own injury right now. They have Christian Javier coming out of the bullpen. So besides Luis Garcia, there's not really a lock for the rotation. His 3 seasons, he's never had an ERA above 4. He has a 1.02 whip for his career. He doesn't walk batters, and he attacks the strike zone early, which I like. I think it shows a confidence in the stuff. 17 out of the 20 starts he had last year, he went at least 4 innings pitched. So he's not getting chased out of the game early. There was one game where he gave up 6 earned runs. It was at Toronto. Obviously, they're a crazy good offense. Other than that, all the games were 4 or less, so he's not going to kill your ratio. Now, I know the big knock on him was the decrease in velocity from 2020 to 2021. I'm going to contribute some of that to the reoccurring shoulder soreness he had that caused him to miss over 2 months. I'm assuming that he's coming into 2022 with a clean bill of health. And I just love the variance in his pitch speed. So his fastball, which he threw 55% of the time last year, topped out at about 93 miles per hour. Then he threw his slider about 20% of the time. That's 79 miles per hour. His changeup was about 84 miles per hour, which he threw 18.2% of the time. And then his curve is 77. So wide range of speeds. And just at 194, I think that's such low value on him, especially because he's playing on a good offense. That'll hopefully get him some wins.
Mm-hmm.
I like Urquidy.
He did well.
Yeah. Did you say he did well?
I said you did well. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. No pushback.
Him up well. No. He's great. I love Urquidy. We have not seen his best. I know Eno loves him too. The depth of arsenal, the command is already there. You know, it can be a little bit more fine with the home run rate, but they're not damaging homers because he doesn't put anybody on base. So yeah, I think Urquidy could still have a huge breakout year.
Yeah. I like a lot of the Astros players in that rotation. I'm not talking about him this episode, but I'm a big Christian Javier guy.
Me too.
Yeah, I think he's. I think he's
draft together. We can't draft.
He's
together.
after pick 300 too. He's a great value
because he never got back in the rotation last year, which I could not fathom. I was dead wrong. I kept saying Luis Garcia and Javier will flip spots.
Yeah.
I just kept saying it because I thought it was 1,000,000,000% going to happen to protect Garcia's innings, and because Javier had started the season in the rotation, and they just didn't do it. They got Garcia to the finish line, which, hey, good for him. But like, I was really surprised. And Javier might come in as the 6th guy this year, but no team just uses 5 starters.
Right.
He will get some time this year. And I think it could be a bigger chunk of time because Verlander, I love him and I hope he comes back big, but he's 39. McCullers is always hurt. And Urquidy, as much as I love him, does have a bit of a shoulder issue. So there's 3 guys there that could cause some problems there and open up the door for Javier.
Yeah. That's one of the things I've been big on this year is getting guys like him that you're getting dips because they don't necessarily have a spot locked in the rotation. So I think you can get huge values on guys like him. Now Cheesecake, let's go ahead and give us one that you're loving.
Well, I am going away from the starters. Well, I wanted to first of all say the youthful Justin Verlander at 39 years old. That's what I wanted to say. He's not old.
Very.
Kate Upton injects youth into him.
Yeah,
absolutely.
She gives him adrenochrome and keeps him young. I love JV. I have a huge bias toward him, so like take everything I say with at least a little grain of salt there. But I mean, his unicorn tendencies do make me think he could come back and be a beast. And if he's throwing like 96 plus in spring, I'm taking him inside my top 20 starters. I don't care.
I'm going to a relief pitcher for my guy. I'm going with Lou Trivino. I'm going with Lou because I think that the narrative that the A's are tanking is a bit overblown. When you look at their roster, when you look at their actual players, they are returning. Their projected starting 5 started 144 games for the A's last year. That's Bassett, Minaya, Montes, Irvin, and Caprillion. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. From an 86 and 76 team, 144 starts right there. Their hitter.
Can I jump in real quick though?
Yeah.
Are you not concerned that it's like an unfinished offseason because the lockout stalled their chances to trade some of these guys? Because didn't they say like everyone's available?
Well, I know that Bean said that there was some management reduced payroll
mandates
directive. Yeah,
okay.
Mandates. But I think when you look at who they hired for Kotze, you might think that that's trying to keep some continuity with the players.
I mean, I hope so. I don't want them to sell off like that. It would be so bad if they sold off this team. This team is a core that is capable of doing some big things.
Yeah. And I think that with him, he's been a solid arm in that pen for a long time.
Trivino, right?
Yeah, Trivino.
Sorry.
Yeah, he's been a solid arm in that pen. He was the closer to end the season for them last year. And so when you look at now, and the big thing here is you got to also start looking up the draft at which closers are being taken ahead of him. When you start jumping up the draft, you got Ken Giles being taken ahead of him. Coming off an injury, not even sure he has a job. Matt Barnes, not even sure if he has a job. Lucas Sims, not even sure if he has a job. Garrett Whitlock, not even sure if he has the job. Dylan Floro is the next pitcher that you could pretty much bank that he's going to have the job, but he's going 40 picks ahead of Lou Trivino, who, Trevino's not the type of closer that's going to get you the great strikeout numbers. His whip is a little bit higher than you'd love, but he's going to get those saves. And right now he's going pick 282. That is way, way back in the draft, especially when closers are being pushed up like there's a run on them, especially as it's going. So I think if you're looking at value in the draft for a closer, Trivino to me is a fantastic value because he's going to get you saves and he's going to have the role.
I like Lou Trivino a lot. Yeah, I mean, I don't even pull where he was on here. Lou Trivino at going around pick 282. Yeah, so it's good value. I'll be real quick with mine. You guys hear that train coming? The choo choo, the A train. Aaron Ashby. Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul, I'm glad we're on the same page with him.
He's got some strong Aaron Ashby love here.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, this is again another guy fits the theme. Like he doesn't have a guaranteed rotation spot, but I mean the stuff is there. I mean, you look 4.55 ERA in 31.2 innings, but had a 3.58 FIP. His ability to miss bats with multiple pitches, change up 34% whiff rate. Obviously, his slider is the big attraction. 42% whiff rate on his slider. And you know that slider is going to make him a good lock for strikeouts. In fact, he trailed only Corbin Burns with his curveball and Blake Trinan with his slider for the lowest batting average against a pitch thrown more than 200 times last year. So Corbin Burns had a 0.069 average with his curveball. Blake Trinan had a 0.074 average with his slider. And then Aaron Ashby had a 0.077 average with his slider. That's and then Jordan White, shout out at Bunt Singles, he pointed out the movement of his slider is elite too, with the movement that it has on it. So he put up a graph about it. But overall, I mean, you look the chase percentage, the chase contact percentages are lower than average. Whiff percentages are great. Why can't he be the next guy in this rotation to be? You have Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta. The Brewers obviously know what they're doing with these guys. I know Eric Lauer and Adrian Hauser right now are in front of him, but I would not be shocked to see Adrian Hauser flip over to a long reliever, especially if Aaron Ashby is able to really take a step forward, pitch some more innings next year. And I think he could be the next Brewers pitcher in the making here, and you can get him at a pretty good price.
Yeah, I got all 6 of those Brewers guys in my top 99 pitchers. I like all of them. And I got Ashby up there in the early 70s. I think he's a beast, and yeah, he could definitely overtake. I like Lauer quite a bit. Hauser's probably my least of the 6 there, but he's a pretty solid pitcher. So yeah, Ash might have to fight for it a little bit early on, but he's got way better skills than Hauser. Hauser had that shiny ERA last year, but he didn't quote unquote earn it in terms of the skills behind it. He really lived on that ground ball rate, and kudos to him. He made it work, but I think Hauser is a potential victim to Ashby there. And we could see Ashby in the rotation as early as like May 1st.
Yeah. And that, I mean, again, fantastic value. Imagine if he does go there May 1st, because I believe right now, he's going 269, which actually it's up a little bit more. I think he was closer to pick like 280 a couple weeks ago. So it is going up a little bit. But again, I mean, this is a guy that you're getting at the very end of your draft, not very end, but even right before pick 300. And the strikeout stuff he's going to have at minimum. He could be kind of, I mean, Tanner Houck's my favorite breakout pitcher this year, but Aaron Ashby's not far behind. And at the very worst, you might have a guy that comes in the 4th inning and pitches maybe, 4th, 5th, and 6th, gets some cheap wins, gives you a lot of Ks for your ratios, and just be nasty. I mean, worst things could happen, but I think that's his floor at this point. So I think he's a great value where he's going. But we'll close out pitcher discussion, and let's quickly go through the pitchers that we do not like where their ADP is right now, and means we probably won't draft them where they currently stand. So, Paul, for the last bit of pitcher discussion, why don't you kick us off here?
I'll actually be quick on one. It's Robbie Ray. It's, a huge breakout kind of out of nowhere. I like that he's going to a better park, but I just don't trust it. I'm just not paying full price. We've kind of had a theme about talking about paying full price for the previous year when it was a breakout out of nowhere. That's what this was. I just won't pay for it. If he beasts, I'll tip my cap and say he's a new player, but I can't pay for Robbie Ray based on his history.
And Doc, that's your pick as well.
Yeah, made a video about don't overpay for Robbie Ray. 2021 was an anomaly. 2.84 ERA as 4 for his career. His expected ERA was 3.6 last year. He has a 1.04 WHIP last year. It's 1.32 for his career. He's actually only been under that WHIP twice in the 7 years. Last year he threw his fastball slider 90.2% of the pitches he threw. I don't like that. I think he needs more of the third pitch, the slider, a little bit more, and he's going to get less wins on the Mariners than he was with the Blue Jays. So 44 is just a little bit too high for me.
Yeah, I know Michael Simeone, SP Streamers, talked about the amount that he fastball middle, the numbers that were off of it, and he kind of seemed like he got a little lucky with that. I had a conversation on Twitter with a couple people about where I ranked him, and Mike Doc Carter pointed out that he had a 90% left on base percentage last year, so you expect that to regress some. Just
Where'd
seems
you
like
have
they're
him?
Paul. I had him pretty low. I had him at 44.
Okay, I'm with it. I mean, I was talked up from I think like early 30s, and I think I got him late 20s now. But I don't think you should move him if you don't want to. Like, there's a lot of worry here, and he might have just had an amazing year. Like, there are things backing up what he did, but that doesn't mean that they'll continue. And that's another thing I think we kind of struggle with sometimes in the fantasy community. We go look for evidence, we do the work, we see reasons why it stayed, but then the next part is like, can they continue to do that? That's the question, right? First, was it built on something believable? Then do they carry that foundation over? And that's the scary part with Ray. I can't trust it.
It was also a contract year. Like, he wanted to get paid.
There is data there that says that guys turn up, they play through more injuries. That's the biggest thing, is they get more playing time, and he beasted. He just absolutely killed it.
I kind of compared him to a glorified R.A. Dickey, where, a little bit, above average pitcher for the majority of his career, has one amazing season where he wins the Cy Young. And then, the Blue Jays traded for him, obviously giving up prospects. And, in this sense, he's a free agent, but you're overpaying for a career year after 7 years of what you're kind of get.
Well, let me tell you guys this, so real quick, and then we can do the last couple guys here. So in 2017 with the Arizona Diamondbacks, you look at his numbers: 12 Ks per 9, 11.8 Ks per 9, or I'm sorry, 11.5 Ks per 9 in 2021. He did walk that year 3.94 per 9. Last year's 2.42. But you look at it across the board, a 2.89 ERA. He had a 2.84 ERA last year. Expected ERA of 3.34 and FIP 3.72. The xERA and FIP is right around that range as well. Home run fly ball rates are both. So this year was 15.9%. That year was 15.6%. It just seems like there's a lot of stuff. He's done this before. I mean, obviously the walks per 9 was the little bit of a difference, but we've seen him absolutely beast. And then like Paul, you were saying, and then the next year completely flop. Just to take him where he is. And I moved him up too. I moved him up into the low 30s. I can't move him into my top 30 personally, but I did bump him up a little bit. But I can't take him where he's going. He's one of those players like you're like, oh well, you can't be like, oh, I need to see multiple years of everybody. But with how volatile his profile's been throughout his career, I can't just go in based off his track record.
Exactly. I just can't pay full price for last year as if that's the guy that he is. And that's what that price entails. There is no factoring of who Robbie Ray has been with that draft price at 45 and pitcher 16. If he was pitcher 22 and pick, actually, that'd still be too high too for me. I don't know if it was something like in the 80s, which if he was like Luis Castillo, who's pitcher 31 and pick 80, that would still obviously be high, but at least it would be some deference to what Robbie Ray has been. This just says, look at this new ace. He's an ace. Go ace him up, and I can't do it.
Yeah, I think this range, I'd feel a lot better, like you saying, taking him there. All right, Marty, give us your last guy.
Yeah, so real quick, it's going to be Zach Wheeler. So he's 23rd. He's going 23 overall, 7th pitcher off the board. And last year in TGFBI, I drafted Wheeler in the 6th round, 79th pick overall. Now he's going before Jacob deGrom and Shane Bieber. So it's less about believing in what Wheeler's doing, and it's more of just I am not ready to invest that high of a pick, a 2nd round pick in Zach Wheeler with so much more on the board. Personally, I have Wheeler ranked as my 12th pitcher overall. So he's sandwiched between Lance Lind and Sandy Alcantara. So if he was more in the 50s, 55, around there, Wheeler, I would fire him up. But where he's going right now, I'm swinging for the fences if I'm going to go pitcher there. I'm going deGrom or I'm going Bieber.
I'm sorry, Marty, that you're a hater.
Yeah, you're a big Wheeler guy, but we'll say that for another day when we do debates. Cheesecake, give us yours last one real quick.
I'm going to push back. I think deGrom is being overdrafted. I think that when you look at what he did last year, it's probably the strongest 90 to 100 inning season of an MLB history, perhaps. And he also started to get wins last year. He had 7 wins in those 90 innings, which for him,
He usually needs 35 starts for that.
yeah, usually it's like 2/3 of his usual season. But when this was his first significant time missed in the last few seasons. He did not finish the season on the mound, which to me was a big red flag. They even brought Thor back out for the last game of the season. deGrom, no starts. But I think when you look at the stats last year, I mean, his season was amazing. But and if he doesn't hit that season, again, you're still getting Jacob deGrom, a multiple Cy Young Award winner, a great guy. But I don't think you can bank on the innings. I think I'm going to have to see at this point, I'm going to have to see him out there pitching before I take him in the 2nd round. He's going 24th overall. He's gone as high as 12th. But then you look at guys going behind him. Bieber's going behind him. He finished the season on the mound. Urias going behind him. Alcantara's going behind him. I think I'm all the way down. I think I'd probably take guys like Giolito and Nola just because I trust their arms a little bit better than deGrom. I trust the fact because deGrom had an elbow injury. That's a pitching injury. It's not something else. It's a pitching injury. So we don't know when he's going to be back, when he's going to be good. And we don't know if he starts the season with the team, whether or not he's going to finish the season as well. I think that injury to me, it's showing that he might be starting to get a little bit of wear and tear on the arm. I thought there was a really great point that Ron Chandler made on the Beat the Shift podcast recently, where are you drafting against in a home league with your friends where you got guys who are going to be conservative because they only have 1 or 2 teams and maybe 3 or 4, or are you drafting in a league with guys who have like 15, 20 teams? Yep. One of them is going to want to get their deGrom share at 22 or 16 or 17. So, you're going to have to look around you and say, where's deGrom going to go? I think if you're in a home league, it's possible deGrom slips a little bit more. But if you're going with a bunch of Chandler called them power drafters, he's probably going to be pushed up a little bit, and I'm just not going to pay that price.
That's a great point. I think it's fair. I wish there was a bigger discount too. deGrom's a god, and I definitely agree with the point about if I'm a 1 or 2 league person, I don't think I can take that inherent risk like right onto my team immediately to where first day of spring he could pop and it's TJ. Like that is a real risk. That's a real risk for everybody, right? They can all have that. But deGrom's risk is heightened and there's just not a big enough discount for that. Meanwhile, if he goes and he throws, if he's popping 96, like I said with Verlander, he's crushing in spring, he's going up to a single digit pick. deGrom is.
Exactly.
Yeah. And just real quick, as it stands today, what round are you taking deGrom and where you're comfortable drafting him? The only draft I've taken him so far is I took him at the last pick of the 2nd round. So like the 2-3 turn. I don't know if I would take him before then. What about you guys?
Yeah, that's about it. I would really hope for 3rd round. I'm not able to get that. And so I've been pivoting elsewhere to one of the Milwaukee guys or maybe Beebs or Arias.
3rd round for me. 3rd round for me.
Yeah, 3rd.
As of now, I would spring up to late 2nd because we haven't heard otherwise that he's injured.
Yeah.
That's true. Like there's not anything out there that says like be panicked. Of course, there's not anything of anything right now because we're in a lockout.
No,
which
no
sucks.
news. No news is good news unless it's the MLB lockout.
True.
There you go. I'll close this discussion out. Kevin Gausman is the one I'm a little wary of right now, going, I believe, around 58, if I'm not mistaken. I'll just pull that just to be sure. But
He's 59, I
or
think.
59, yeah. So
Or the 58th player. Yeah, it says there on the left.
yeah, 58th player, around the 59th pick. His max pip around 80 is, again, right. We were talking about that kind of with Robbie Ray. That's where I feel more comfortable. So it's kind of a couple things. So you look, one, he's a 2-pitch pitcher, 4-seamer splitter. I usually like if guys have a third pitch, but obviously some guys make it work with 2. But if you kind of look towards the second half, and someone combated this today when we were talking about it, that they said with the whole sticky substance stuff that pitchers were finding themselves. But if you're making that narrative, hitters did a better job in general picking up Gausman's splitter, and they stopped swinging out of the zone on against it. So if you look, Gausman's chase rate against his splitter drops from 44% in June to 31% in July. And then it ticked up to about 37% in August, and it kind of stayed around there for most of the rest of the year. And if guys aren't chasing his splitter out of the zone, then it's going to be a problem because that's his pitch. And I do think him obviously going to Toronto, going against the Yankees, going against the Red Sox, going against the Rays, going from away from the Giants, and being able to play against the Diamondbacks. And
Well, he's at Camden, which is a home run hitter park.
And Camden's a home run hitter park.
He's going back to the scene of the crime of the AL Central, AL East.
Yes. And I'm a little bit worried now, kind of like with Robbie, right? I know Gausman's done it a little bit longer, and that's why I'm not like, there's no way I'm taking him. I'm sure I'll have some shares, but 58 is a lot for everything needs to go right for him to hit that price. And I don't think he's going to live up to the 58 or the 59th, draft spot around here, especially pick 29. Someone took min pick 29. I'll probably, if this range where Gausman is, I'll probably wait a little bit later and get I'll take Jack Flaherty over him personally. Just that's how I feel about it. And, going further down, the Brios, Joe Musgrove, obviously has been a name that many have been talking about as one of the bigger breakout pitchers this year. I'll take Musgrove there, Luis Castillo. I'll take a lot of these guys after where he's going. So I don't think I'll have too much Kevin Gausman this year. But
that makes sense to me.
All right. Well, we're going to close the book on our ADP loves and hates, and we're going to quickly finish out the show here with what makes triple play fantasy. And that's our question and game of the week. And Cheesecake came up with both. So nice job, Cheesecake. But our question this week, of course, sponsored by Monkey Knife Fight, as we are an official affiliate to Monkey Knife Fight, the fastest growing sports betting site in the United States. New depositors, if you deposit $100, we'll match that. Anything 100 or under, we got you. So please make sure you use our code triple play, and we'll match whatever you throw their way up to $100. So our question this week, who had the best rookie season to not win Rookie of the Year honor? So this was a little bit of a digging question. You had to dig to find the answer. Paul, what did you have as yours?
Brandon Webb, 2003.
Nice.
My man had 2.84 ERA, 115 WHIP, and 172 strikeouts in 181 innings. Excellent season. He'd actually kind of fall off a bit after that, where he was like walking the yard before he then jumped up to his Cy Young level. He didn't win the Cy Young or the Rookie of the Year. Remember, 2.84 ERA. Dontrelle Willis won it. Dontrelle Willis had a 3.30 ERA. He had a 128 WHIP to Webb's 115. He had 142 strikeouts to Webb's 172. He threw 20 fewer innings. In what universe did this make sense? Yeah, he was a very cool player. I love Dontrelle. And, he had the delivery and the fun factor. That doesn't mean anything for performance. The craziest part is Webb finished third because Scott Podsednik was ahead of him as well. And Scott Podsednik had a nice season, 314, 379, 443 with 9 homers, 43 steals. He actually did great. I would actually be okay with him finishing second to Webb. But the fact that Webb lost to another pitcher who he was superior to across the board is just nonsensical. It makes absolutely no sense. That's what nonsensical means. And it's just so stupid. And it shows how bad votes used to be. Not saying there's never bad votes these days, but I think they're a lot better. I don't think the same mistake would happen today. Because I'm sorry, this is a mistake. I know it's a vote, and so on some level, how can you say a vote is wrong? But if we're looking at the evidence here, and we can compare two guys in the same categories, there's just no brain that should function and put Willis ahead of Webb unless you're going off the 14-6 record versus the 10-9, which I guarantee you a lot of people voted on, which is disgusting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm sure also I feel like Dontrell looked like he was gonna be the new wave of pitcher. The way he pitched and it was the style.
So cool.
Yeah.
Wait, David, can I go next? Because I'm going to one up him on this in terms of pitcher stats.
How do you one up Brandon Webb? That's one of the best pitchers of our childhood. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to go Roy Oswalt.
Yeah,
2001. Yep. He went 14-3, 273 ERA, 1.06 WHIP. He finished 5th in Cy Young voting. He finished 2nd in Rookie of the Year to Albert Pujols, who, I mean, I can't even be mad about giving it to him. 329, 37 homers, 130 RBIs. Obviously they play a different position, but Roy Oswalt came out of the gate firing, and he only finished higher in Cy Young voting a couple more times in his career, but 5th as a rookie to not win Rookie of the Year. It sucks, but
see that one's tough because that's just another deserving season. But Pujols is definitely the winner.
It was for sure the winner.
Yeah, he just pitched in the wrong year to be a rookie there for Oswalt. Whereas I think the Webb one is he should have absolutely won it. Oswalt just caught hard luck because that's an amazing year, and he doesn't deserve a chance at it, which he didn't get. It was 32 first place votes for Pujols, and yet you look at that year and you're like, that's so godly, and it doesn't even get one first place vote for Rookie of the Year.
Now, do you guys think they should do what like the NFL does, where they like offensive rookie and defensive rookie?
I'd be fine with that. If it was a pitching
I
and
agree
hitting.
with that. Yeah, but don't have AL and NL, just have hitter and pitcher.
That would totally work too. Yeah, why not do that and expand the pool? Especially because rookie classes are volatile, right? Sometimes they're really robust with a bunch of guys. Other times it's like 4 guys, and then maybe one, and then one of the leagues is not even that good, but he wins just by default. I also wish that the Hank Aaron Award had the same significance as the Cy Young Award. Then I'd feel a lot more comfortable with pitchers winning MVP. Because as it stands right now, I think both those awards stand at the top. And yet pitchers can qualify for both, and hitters only qualify for one. That doesn't seem fair to me. I wish the MVP was on top, Cy Young, Hank Aaron, then the Rookie of the Year, then the Gold Glove and Silver Slugger. But unfortunately, the Hank Aaron Award just doesn't have any cachet.
That's a very interesting point. I never really thought of it like that, but
that's why I don't like pitchers for MVP. I get that they're allowed and someone wants to vote that. I get it. But for me personally, if I ever got in the BBWAA and got a vote, I would never vote a pitcher MVP unless they were just light years better than every hitter, which very rarely happens.
Yeah.
They have their own MVP. It's Cy Young.
Right. No, 100%. Marty, what about you? Who's your pick?
Yeah, so I'm going to bring it back to 2010 when the Detroit Tigers, Mr. Austin Jackson was a rookie, and he was absolutely rocked. Austin Jackson, baby. So here's who won. So the Texas Rangers, Neftali Feliz, he had a fine year as a rookie. He went 4-3. He had a 2.73 ERA over 69.1 innings.
Nice.
How many saves? How many saves?
Yeah, 40 saves too. He was closer.
Yeah, 40 saves.
Hey, leaving out an important detail.
Yeah, he's a beast closer. Sure.
Saves are cool. That's great, and I'm happy for everybody. But listen, so now for Austin Jackson, in his rookie year, he ranked 13th in total at bats. He had 618 at bats as a rookie. Over those at bats, he batted .293 with a .345 on base percentage. He scored 103 runs, and he stole 27 bases.
He was great.
That's an amazing rookie year. Congratulations to the Rangers, who were a better team at the time anyway. We were 500 that year. We needed every bit of those 103 runs. It was an amazing Austin Jackson. What an amazing rookie year.
Jackson was. Go ahead.
I was going to say, but he had 0 saves.
He did have 0 saves. That's
true.
Unfortunate.
Can't argue with that.
You just truly cannot argue that. Yeah, the volume plays big for me. 151 games, 618 at bats versus someone who's closing. And I get, like it's a little unfair because then a closer can never win Rookie of the Year. And I'm like, I'm fine with that actually, if that's kind of how it breaks down. Because if you put up a full season and it was a 5 WAR guy too, and look, comparing reliever WAR with a hitter who played a full season, that's not really fair. The deck is stacked against Feliz. But yeah, I'm gonna go a little homer on that and say I agree. Austin Jackson should have bought that home.
as he touches the cap. Yeah, the Detroit love right there. Cheesecake, who did you pick as the biggest snub for Rookie of the Year?
Well, I'm glad y'all did your research. I didn't do any research. I'm going clear off memory for this. And in 2013, Jose Fernandez won Rookie of the Year in the National League, and he had a fantastic season. His volume wasn't that big, but in the same season, I thought that Yasiel Puig came out and showed that one day, he was going to be the best player in all of baseball, hitting 320, 20 home runs, with good volume. I thought that after that, he said that he was on his way to being a top fantasy player, a top overall player type of player in baseball. And to me, the fact that he didn't win Rookie of the Year to me was like, well, are we talking about the best rookie, which Fernandez might have had the best stats, or are we talking about the guy who the best rookie who's going to have the best career? And to me, it was obviously Puig. Although,
but should it ever be who's going to have the best career? Because it's the Rookie of the Year, right? And it's not who's going to be the best player going forward.
But Puig had a fantastic rookie season.
He did.
And Fernandez had a good rookie season. 11-2, I think he went, but he only played about half the season, right?
No, he had 172 and 2/3. Remember, they brought him up.
I did no research.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. So I'm going to help you on that one because he broke camp, and remember, it was like a big surprise because he had not pitched higher than high A.
Okay,
and he was a 20-year-old.
Yeah,
and the Marlins were like, he's ready, so we're not going to waste bullets in the minors. Just something that they've been consistent with, even as some of the regimes have changed. They've had an element of continuity there, where when their pitchers are ready, they bring them up. So that was a more full season than you remember. I think this is more a case of the Oswalt one, where Puig is very deserving, and there's so many years that he would have won. But I think Fernandez, with 172 innings of a 2.19 ERA and a 0.98 WHIP with 187 strikeouts, I think he's the clear winner there. So I think it's just more that Puig got put up against the wrong guy versus him deserving it over Fernandez. That's my opinion, personally.
I think you might be right on that. And like I said, there's a reason why he didn't win it, obviously, that year. But I do think that the promise of that season, I was
so excited with him.
Yeah, the promise of that season, it really never came through from that. Yep. And to me, that memory of that season and how exciting of a player he was, I thought we were looking at the next great player.
There's a reason MLB The Show always has to go back to his rookie year for a flashback card for him, because that's the only year that he was like truly a star. He was still pretty good the following year, but he went from a 925 OPS to an 863. And then it really plateaued from there. Like, he was still pretty good, but it's unfortunate. I mean, he's out of the league at 30, and his last season was basically a league average year when he went 24-19. It's just crazy that he's out of the league. And I know he had some off the field stuff. I'm not saying that he should just be forgiven for that, but I haven't seen anything where he's been in jail either. And there's other guys that are playing while having stuff pending or whatever. I don't think he even has anything pending. So I think it is weird that he's just out of the league.
Yeah, it really. I mean, I guess teams didn't want the headache, but he's not. I mean, how much of a headache is he? Like, he didn't.
I guess that's it though. Like, because you throw in off the field stuff that is like criminal potential, because there were some cases against him. Again, I don't believe any of those put him, that he was convicted on anything. And this is not me taking up for anything that he may or may not have done. It's more of me saying that I'm surprised that this was the guy they picked to say, fine, we're going to take a stand for once. If they want to say that with anybody who kind of gets domestic violence situations, sure, but it seemed like they kind of picked and chose, and they're like, this is the guy who's had problems before, so we're just going to kick him out now, basically.
Yeah, it was pretty wild, kind of how his career just
he's like done,
tailspinned out.
Like, he couldn't find a job last year, and like, think about all the injuries and times that COVID popped up, and nobody thought to give him an opportunity. He got that one chance with Atlanta where it looked like he was signing in 20, then he himself got COVID, and Puig has just been dust in the wind since.
Yeah, I think he's playing on the same team with we had Danny Espinosa on last year, and I'm pretty sure, as I follow him on Instagram, Danny Espinosa, that they actually played on the same team for a little bit last year. Yeah, it's like some Mexican team.
Well, he's in he played a little bit in the Winter League for the Dominican Winter League, the Toros, but it looks like he didn't do much there. He did play really well in that Mexican League team that you're talking about. I don't know. It doesn't show Danny Espinosa was on his team, but maybe in the league. But do you guys remember Alexi Amarista and Paulo Orlando? Those are two names I recognize that
I
are
do
on
remember
his
those
team.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, they were on his Mexican League team.
That's awesome. Mine real quick. Trevor Rogers. This is obviously very recent. 24 years old. He paced NL rookies last year in ERA, innings, strikeouts, whip, batting averaged against in 25 starts. This is actually, I forgot who the author was, but this was on MLB.com. Since the mound was lowered in 1969, only 6 rookie pitchers had matched his season total in wins and strikeouts while recording as low an ERA as he did. And 5 of them actually won the award. That's Jose Fernandez, Hideo Nomo, Dwight Gooden, Fernando Valenzuela, and John Matlock. So, I mean, basically saying how good his numbers were. 5 of the 6 other pitchers won that award. So, kind of shows you that he, in a way, you could say, I mean, India had a great year, but Trevor Rogers was pretty much consistently from, besides a little bit of a stretch, he was consistent start in and start out.
I think that's the part, though, is that inconsistency at the end cost him, but it wasn't even really his fault. Didn't he have like a family situation pop up?
Yeah.
And then a COVID situation? And it's like he kind of got forgotten there because he missed all of August. But when he came back in September, he was still good. It's just that Rogers, for the final 4 months of the season, was just lights out. And the rookie of the year is probably the biggest one that can be driven by narratives of performing down the stretch. And I know it can happen with MVP too, but you have to have a pretty strong season. But he basically punted the first 2 months, India did, but then he was a god from June on.
Yeah.
And he stole that award from Rogers because, I think Rogers deserved it too. But India he's deserving, but I think Rogers should have won.
Yeah, I mean, when I read that stat that 5 of the 6 other guys that had his numbers did, I was like, he didn't do anything. I mean, a 2.64 ERA,
that's nuts.
As a rookie, that's insane. And 25 starts, so. I mean, all the guys we brought up, I think, they could have won it in other years, just, didn't obviously happen for them. But let's get to the last part of the show. Game of the week. Cheesecake's hosting, the best game host out there, best explanation of games out there. So why don't you tell us what we're playing?
I get crap for how I explain the games I create, so I'm going to try and do this. I'll talk very slowly.
Okay.
Since there have been 47 15-team ADP drafts, 24 since December 1st, 23 before them, we are comparing the two. Have I lost any of you yet?
No.
Okay. All right. So that's basically the game. I'm going to give you the questions, and it's going to be a comparison of the first 23 drafts between October and December 1st, and the last 24 between December 1st and today. Who's rising? Who's falling? What are the trends? The first question, and it's going to be the Price is Right answer style. The first question, closers in the top 100 are the only players who have risen at least 10 spots are all closers in the top 100. I want you guys to tell me the biggest riser out of these closers. Raisel Iglesias, Manuel Clase, Edwin Diaz, Ryan Presley, Aroldis Chapman, and Kenley Jansen. Those are the only players who have risen at least 10 spots in the top 100. Which one of them has risen the most? David, we'll start with you.
I feel like
you want me to say their names again?
No, I think I know it just by when I think it's Ryan Presley.
Doc.
I think it's Emmanuel Clase.
Marty.
Clase.
Sporer.
Clase.
Clase is the largest riser of 15 spots, but all of them are 10 to 14 otherwise. So it's real tight. It's real tight. You said Presley. I think Presley was a 14 riser.
Oh, so I was second.
He was second.
So
yeah.
close.
Yeah. All right. So biggest fallers in the draft. I'm going to give you guys 4 pitchers, and you're going to tell me who you think is the biggest faller. All of these pitchers have fallen at least 30 spots from the first 23 drafts to the second 24 drafts. And these 4 pitchers are Luis Severino, Lance McCullers, Clayton Kershaw, or Adam Wainwright. Who is the biggest faller? We're going to start with Doc.
Severino, McCullers, Kershaw, Wainwright.
That's right.
I'm stuck between two. I'm going to go Kershaw because uncertainty if he retires or not.
Marty?
Kershaw.
Sporer?
I'm sorry to not be original, but Kershaw's my pick too.
Mendy?
Lance McCullers jumped out at me. I'm going Lance McCullers.
That was my other one if I didn't pick him.
Same.
Mandy, you just evened up the game. McCullers has dropped
Woo! It pays to be different.
49 spots.
Yeah.
Kershaw's
No.
dropped 33.
Yeah,
Second biggest drop, Adam Wainwright.
I wonder what put McCullers at. What I was thinking was like he wouldn't have been coming. He shouldn't have been going that high coming out of the playoffs because he got hurt in the playoffs. So that's why I didn't think it was him, even though he was the first name that crossed my mind. But yeah, I guess people are realizing there's some concern there. There's some major concern.
The biggest risers among closers, I'm going to get off of pitching here in a minute, but we're going to go back to closers overall. These 4 closers have all risen at least 30 spots from the first 23 to the next 24 drafts. Blake Trinan, Camilo Doval, Lucas Sims, Lou Trivino. Who is the biggest riser out of those 4? We're going to start with Marty.
Trivino.
Sporer?
Duvall.
Mendy?
Duvall was going to be my pick too.
Doc?
Duvall's my pick.
Lucas Sims has risen 51 spots.
Wow.
Lou Trivino has risen 49. Blake Trinan 39. Duvall actually 32 is the smallest rise.
The
out of
lowest.
those 4.
Okay.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dead wrong.
So right now at this point, we're all tied with one apiece after 3 questions.
How many questions we got?
Well, I'm only going to
38.
do. I have a bunch, but I'm not going to do as many because we're going.
Paul talked too long. Just
we're
say
going-
it's okay.
We should do whoever gets 3 first.
Okay.
That's
So
fair.
okay, now this round of questions I'm going to ask about one player, and it's worth 2 points. You got to tell me whether they rose or fell, and by how much. So if they rise or fall, if you get that correct, you get 1 point, and the closest to by how much gets another point.
So we should do it
Okay.
to 5 then, since this is a 2-point question.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
All right. The first person on this list is Zac Gallen, and I think Sporer starting. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Zac Gallen, has he risen or fallen?
Fallen.
And then we're going to go, David, has he risen or fallen?
Do you give you the number or no?
I think we're going to just get the number after we decide who's gotten it right.
Gotcha. Okay. I think he's fallen as well.
Doc,
I think he's fallen also.
Marty,
I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to say risen, just like Christ.
he has.
Wait, did you say like Christ? No. Wow.
Jeez. So good.
Oh my God, Marty.
Well, he has.
Fantastic.
He's actually fallen,
Damn it.
but Marty had the best answer, obviously.
True.
So by how much, Sporer? I'll tell you, he was at 305.
50 picks.
Mendy?
He's down at 338. So what's that? 33.
Oh,
picks?
Jesus. Christ.
Ah, you're cheating.
No, is that actually what it is? I swear to God, I didn't.
Oh no,
look.
no, I thought you said he's at 338 now. Wait, you
No, like that's my guess. Like I think.
Oh, okay.
I was like, are you
thought
looking
were
at something?
And I was like,
mean,
man.
that's not right. But we did do December 1st, not 15 team drafts. So if
Wait.
you memorized it,
No,
So
no, I
what-
didn't. I just swear.
What was
to
he
God.
prior? So David.
305. So you said he dropped 33, Mendy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going 31.
He's dropped 26 spots. He's at 331. You were really close when you guessed Mendy. I was like, Mendy, you little cheater. So
two
Doc,
for your boy.
You got 2 points. Both of you
Yeah,
guys
Doc-
did. Oh no, Doc.
Doc got
freaking
2.
Price is
You
right
each
in
got
here.
1, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely priced
No,
it right.
I honestly just went with my number that was in my head prior.
That's what they all say, of course.
Okay, so we are who's leading this one off, David?
Back to
Yeah.
David.
All right, this is going to be another rise or fall, and by how much? Joey Gallo.
So Doc could end the game with this, by the way.
Yeah, you
That's
could.
true. Joey Gallo from October 1st to the end of November was the 183rd player off the board. Has he risen or fallen?
I'll say he's risen.
Okay.
He's Christ. He's risen.
Doc.
He is more.
He's
Christ-like.
he's yeast in the oven. He's risen.
Marty.
Risen.
Paul.
Down, falling.
Paul is the only one who got it right.
Damn it.
All right. So if you tell me, I guess we're going to say, since you're the only one, I guess you have to get within 5 of how many to get the extra point.
18.
Oh, he's fallen 11 spots, 183 to 194. So right now, Paul and Doc are tied with 3. David has 2. Marty has 1.
So close.
So I'm going to give you guys 3 players. No, that's not the question I'm going to do. We're going to go with.
Just remember that any one of these could end it, so make sure you get your favorites in now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Any of these could end it. So if there's any that you desperately want to get in, start moving those to the top.
Yeah.
Okay, Jared Kelnick or Kelnick. I don't know how to say that right.
Kelnick,
you got it.
Yeah.
Jared Kelnick. Doc is starting off. Jared was taking 130 on average from October 1st to the end of November. Has he risen or fallen, Doc?
He's risen.
Marty.
Risen.
Paul.
I think he's down too.
David.
I feel like he's risen up recently.
He has risen.
Dang it.
So he was at 130. Doc, how many has he risen?
So he was at 130 prior.
Mm-hmm.
He's risen 24 spots.
Marty.
20.
David.
I was gonna say 20, so I'll go 19.
Damn you. Come on.
David, you price is right. He's risen 5 spots.
Does that end it for David? Didn't he just win?
No, I had 2, so I have 4 now.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so me and you got 4. Let's go, David.
That's
Let's
right.
go.
That's right.
So 4.
How many does
4,
Marty
and
have?
I
he's
got
got
2.
1. Or
Marty
he's got
has
2.
two.
Marty got 2, and I got 3.
Okay. All right. So this is
of us
my.
can finish it if it's a
This
two-pointer.
is. Okay. I'm going to do a 1-pointer because I want to get this one in.
Okay.
How many Hernandezes have been taken in at least 20 drafts in each?
That's
How many
so
named
good.
Hernandez? And we're going to start with Marty. Closest to the score wins.
Oh, Hernandez?
Hernandez.
Not him, Nandez. Hernandez.
I was thinking,
And are we just talking about this year?
Yeah,
Yeah,
in the
this-
drafts.
Yeah.
I say 6.
And Paul.
4.
David.
8.
Eric.
And how many of the top picks? Or just in the drafts in general?
They have been taken in at least 20 drafts in each draft.
I respect the research you put for this question.
Yeah, this is a good one.
This is a really good one.
I'm going to go 3.
The answer is 7.
Yes.
So
No,
David and Marty both got it. You both got a point. That makes David the winner. He gets to 5 first. He gets to put it on his resume.
Oh yeah, it
Nice.
goes on the resume.
Finally, David doesn't blow the game. That was
I
a
always
tough time.
see. I always get into the finals with the final 2, and then I always can never pull it out. So I just needed the Hernandez question to get me there. But you know what? We'll take it. But on that note, I'll celebrate my win another time because I want to make sure we give Paul the proper sign off. Paul, thank you so much for coming on the show, sticking with us for almost 2 hours. I know it's a long time, and really appreciate your time. And I want you to go ahead and plug all the great stuff that you do.
I appreciate y'all having me on. Twitter.com/Sporer, Twitch.tv/Sporer. You can find me there. We're amping up the off-season stuff with the calendar turning into the new year. I know we have a lockout right now, but again, I'm pretty confident we're going to play. So check out my stuff on Fangraphs, fantasy.fangraphs.com. Streaming all the time. I'll be streaming later tonight, Twitch.tv/Sporer if you want to come through and hang out. But thank y'all so much for having me on. These are always so fun to do.
Hey, we love having you, man. You're one of our favorite guests that we've had.
Thank
It's
you.
been so long since we had him on, so I'm glad we could make it work. And yeah, obviously, again, Paul's one of the better places to go. I mean, obviously, like he said, it's a lockout right now. You can go watch him Twitch. I'm going to start watching him do his Creative Player, which is actually going to be incredible.
I can't wait. That's a great idea. We're going to be hooping tonight. So if you don't like basketball, then not the night for you, but otherwise. Oh, somebody asked who the Hernandezes were. Enrique Hernandez, Cesar Hernandez, Carlos, Eliezer, Teoscar, Yanni, and Yadiel, I imagine, are the 7.
That was incredible, Paul.
How did you not get that question right?
Yeah.
I think I forgot Enrique. I forgot 3 of them. I said 4, and I forgot Eliezer, Enrique, Yanni, and Yadiel. But then I remembered them as I was going through everything, and I'm like, yeah, I forgot him. I forgot the Enrique one is the most embarrassing.
You get a moral victory.
That was incredible. I almost I gave you my whip for that. Oh my goodness. Check out Paul again, Twitch. Check him out on Twitter. Check him out, Fangraphs, all the great stuff he does. Again, one of the best follows out there in the fantasy baseball community. And everybody that watches Triple Play on YouTube or you listen to the podcast, always appreciate your guys' support each and every week. Next week we'll be back with another guest for some more great off-season content. But until then, everyone stay safe, happy drafting, and we're going to make like a bread truck, and we're going to haul these buns. Catch you guys in the next one.